And one particular family from Louisiana has been planning their trip to Rome since August. It wound up being even more than they could expect. The MacIver family were among the 50,000 people in St. Peter's Square on Sunday for Easter. A few hours later came the news of the death of Pope Francis. For more, we turn to Aimee and Colin MacIver, visiting Rome from Covington, Louisiana. Thank you both for joining us. And Aimee, let's start off with you. What was it like to be in Rome in St. Peter's Square on Easter Sunday, and then an unexpected visit from the Pope?
It's always the most wonderful place to be on Easter Sunday, just in the heart of the church, celebrating the biggest feast of our faith. And so we were not quite sure we would make it in time for the Urbi et Orbi based on our morning schedule that day, but we hustled as fast as we could with our kids to get there. And we weren't quite sure even if Pope Francis would be out himself delivering the blessing and the message. So it was a big gift and a big surprise to see him. We were really thankful for that. It was very crowded. There was a ton of people there, and just everyone there, I think, was sort of calmed and quieted when he spoke, knowing that he himself had sort of become a pilgrim by just coming out on that balcony at that moment. And it was amazing to me just to see how the crowd really settled down for his words, for his voice, even though I don't think most people could understand what he was saying. He was speaking in Italian, and it looked that there was a lot of people there from all over the world.
And of course, that was his last public appearance. And Colin, how did you hear about the passing of Pope Francis?
So we were actually on our way we were making a tour to go down into the catacombs. And interestingly, as we were walking by the Colosseum, my son Leo asked me, "What do you think Pope Francis is doing right now?" And I had no idea of the significance of that question. I said, I don't really know, bud. And actually, we were about to head down into the catacombs, and the news started to break around us. Some of the other, those who were about to go down into the catacombs with us shared that news. So we stopped and we said a prayer as a family, just sort of a spontaneous prayer, and then a Hail Mary together. And certainly deeply significant to go down into the catacombs where we know that some of the earliest popes of the church were buried.
Oh, that's a beautiful story, and just instilling that in your children. And for either of you, what does this mean to be in Rome during this time of mourning, but also gratitude and a transition period as well?
Wow. So today we were in the Sistine Chapel, and of course it'll only be open maybe for another day or two as they prepare for the conclave. But to stop and even to contrast, thinking about some of those popes that were buried in the catacombs, and to think about being in the Vatican and the unbroken continuity of the church, and the beauty of the papacy, the gift of what it is to be Catholic, it really is stirring. I think we have been drawn into a lot of moments of prayer. Yesterday, we were able to be in Assisi, and we were able to pray at the tomb of Blessed Carlo Acutis, who, of course, would have been canonized on Saturday, and I'm sure will very soon in the future. But they're just really, I think, for our whole family, is a deep sense of the universality of the church, and really the gift of our Catholic faith.
And I know that you're not leaving until Friday, but for either of you, what's the most memorable moment of this trip thus far?
Our kids have said that their most memorable moment was seeing the Pope, which is in some ways kind of a surprise, because they're, young kids, and you might think they would say the e-bikes or whatever we did, but for them it was seeing the Pope. And I think that really speaks to the significance of our faith and of the Pope in our faith, that there's just something about seeing him, even from a distance, on that balcony, in person, that really brings home, this is the heart of our faith. Yeah. And I think other than seeing him, I think just the sense of being with the church in this place during this transition has been really, really incredible. There was huge lines around St. Peter's today, and you could see them stretching I don't know, I want to say miles, maybe not quite miles, but blocks and blocks and blocks out into the neighborhoods around St. Peter's. And that was very striking, and I think we'll remember that forever.
And what an incredible time to share it together as a family, and what you're instilling in your children. Aimee and Colin MacIver, thank you so much for visiting. Have a safe trip home back to Louisiana.
Thank you.
Thank you.